Townsend Press presents, from the Bluford series of books, The Chosen. Written by Karen Langhorne Fallen and Paul Langen. Read by Shay Walker.
Chapter 1. Are you serious? Darcy Wills' voice rose against the roar of the crowded Bluford High School cafeteria. I thought we were going to see each other this afternoon. I'm sorry, Darcy, Hakeem Randall stammered. A crease appeared over his brown eyes, and his broad shoulders slumped. I just got the job at Showtime Theater. I can't skip the first orientation meeting. Plus, I got training. Training? Darcy grumbled. She knew his stutter meant he was stressed, and that she was only adding to it, but she couldn't stop. How hard is it to take movie tickets? Hakeem winced as if he'd been slapped. Come on, Darce, don't be like that, he groaned. Remember your first day at Scoops? You know how crazy it gets. They're putting me on concessions. I'll be making popcorn with that nasty fake butter sauce Cooper likes. I'm starting on a Friday night. I need to know what I'm doing or it'll be a disaster. Whatever. Darcy sighed, annoyed at how mean she sounded. Look, I get it. But school started almost a month ago, and we've hardly seen each other. I thought things would be different this year, especially after everything that happened, you know? Darcy picked at the frayed corner of her notebook where she had scribbled her and Hakeem's initials during history class. She knew she wasn't being fair, and that she sounded like Jamie, her sometimes whiny and demanding younger sister. But she couldn't help it. After a summer of doubts, separation, and worse, she hoped to have a fresh start with Hakeem in her junior year at Bluford High. But so far, September had only brought more interruptions and obstacles. Hakeem's new job was just the latest one. Maybe I should get a job at the movie theater too. At least we could finally hang out, Darcy half-joked. Seriously, Hakeem huffed. Or maybe I can work at Scoops. I mean, popcorn is fine and all, but if I had to choose between the two, I'm taking ice cream any day of the week. Don't sound so desperate, you two, Tarah Carson chimed from across the table. You're seeing each other next weekend, remember? She lowered her voice and glanced toward the long cafeteria line where Cooper Hodden, her boyfriend, was waiting to get a second helping of greasy French fries. At the party? The party. Darcy nearly rolled her eyes. Tarah was throwing Cooper a surprise party for his 18th birthday. It was all she talked about anymore. Whenever Cooper was out of earshot, she would start rambling on about preparations. As much as Darcy liked Cooper, she was sick of hearing about his party. Last year, she and Tarah talked about everything, no matter how serious or silly, but something changed over the summer. Now, Tarah only came in two flavors. She was either distant and moody, or she was obsessed with Cooper's party. She's distracted, Darcy told herself. She'll get back to normal once the party's over. But that day couldn't come soon enough. It's gonna be live, y'all. I got all kinds of food coming, all Coop's favorites, music, and a special cake. The football team's gonna be there too. It's gonna be bigger than homecoming, Tarah announced for what felt like the 1,000th time. And best of all, he don't suspect a thing. Darcy watched as Hakeem rubbed his neck as if he had just strained a muscle. He shifted forward and cleared his throat nervously. Hold up, Tarah. About the party. He glanced back at the cafeteria line. Cooper had just disappeared inside the serving area. I'm gonna have to miss most of it. What? Tarah's voice boomed through the bustling cafeteria. Heads snapped toward them for a second and quickly turned away as if the crowd was used to Tarah's outbursts. What you mean you're gonna miss it? Tarah leaned across the table and glared at Hakeem. It's my new job, Hakeem said softly. My shifts are Friday and Saturday nights, but you're his best friend. Tarah's eyes blazed in her wide face. You're more like a brother, especially since you're living with him now. Hakeem had been living in Cooper's basement since the school year began. I know, Tarah. That's why I'm working. Hakeem glanced over his shoulder again. Cooper still hadn't appeared. Hakeem lowered his voice, his stutter suddenly melting away the way it did when he sang. It's not easy for Coop's mom having another mouth to feed. I gotta pay them back somehow. Contribute, you know? He'd do the same for me. The anger drained from Tarah's face. But you can't miss his party, Hawk. Ain't nobody else who can cover your schedule that day? Hakeem shook his head. I just got the job. I can't call out already. The only reason they even hired me is because I said I work weekends. I have to do this, Tarah. I'm sorry. I get what you're saying, but no one expects you to pay, Tarah muttered. Coop and his mom are glad to help out. They don't want your money, especially with your dad being sick and all. Doctors found a tumor on Hakeem's father's kidney last April. Unable to work and facing huge medical bills, he moved with the family to his brother's house in Detroit. While his health had improved a bit over the summer, he remained there with the family. Hakeem would be there too if Cooper's mom hadn't convinced Hakeem's parents to let him stay at her place so he could finish high school at Bluford. Since arriving in August, Hakeem lived in a small wood-paneled room in Cooper's basement. They called it Coop's crib or Casa de Coop. Hakeem never complained, even though he had to share a small bathroom and duck his head every time he went up and down the steps. Darcy knew he missed his family and felt guilty for leaving while his dad was sick. But until this moment, Darcy never heard him explain why his new job was so important. I know they don't expect me to pay, Tarah, Hakeem answered. But it doesn't feel right knowing how hard Cooper and his mom work. I need to do something to help them. And I'm doing it for my family too. They can't afford to be sending me money for every little thing. That's why I gotta be at work. You understand? Darcy felt a wave of guilt for pressuring Hakeem earlier. She wanted to apologize, but held back as Tarah chewed her bottom lip, shrugged, and sighed. Yeah, it's just... Tarah paused, shaking her head. I wanted this to be perfect. All of us finally back together. Time is flying by. We're juniors. Can you believe that? She stared across the busy cafeteria as if she saw something that worried her. Before long, all this is gonna be gone, she added, sweeping her hand at the crowded room, her extended nails glinting in the fluorescent light. Next year, we're seniors. Then what? We'll be gone too. Darcy's insides sank. It was as if Tarah's words shook the cafeteria. So many choices were ahead of them. So much unknown. But it's still far off, right? Darcy tried to convince herself. That's why this party is a big deal, Tarah continued. Coop's gonna be 18. With everything that happened this summer, Tarah took a heavy breath. Her eyes almost seemed to glisten. He's always been there for me, for all of us. Seems like we should be there for him. It's more important than work. Tarah, you know I want to be there. I really do, Hakeem explained. But I can't. If I don't work that weekend, I'll lose the job. I'm sorry. He sounded as miserable as he looked. Tarah shook her head. Fine. Do what you gotta do then, she said, turning away from him. She reached out and grabbed Darcy's bicep. Girl, I hope you got some muscles in there, she joked, instantly sounding like her old cheerful self. We're gonna need 'em, 'cause it looks like you and me are the setup crew. Don't forget about Dez. He'll be there too, Hakeem added. He's excited to help, and he's almost as big as me. Desmond, Cooper's younger brother, was a freshman at Bluford. He was also Darcy's sister's boyfriend until 2 weeks ago. Don't worry, Tarah, Darcy assured her, rubbing her friend's back. We got this. Okay, but since Hakeem's not coming, let's start earlier. Like at 2 instead of... Suddenly, Tarah's grip on Darcy's arm tightened. Her fingers dug into Darcy's skin like claws. Ouch! Darcy snapped. Shh, here he comes. Tarah's voice dropped to a dramatic whisper. Act normal. Tarah bounded from her seat, meeting Cooper as he emerged from the checkout line in a Bluford football hoodie and jeans. He carried a full tray in his muscular arms. For a second, he eyed Tarah protectively as if he was concerned about her. But then she whispered something, put a hand on her ample hip, and flashed her manicured nails in his face. Whatever she said made Cooper smile, and Darcy felt a familiar twinge of jealousy. Their relationship looked so comfortable and so easy compared to... I'm sorry about this afternoon, Darcy, Hakeem said quietly. I'm sorry too, Darcy began. I wasn't being fair. But you were right. Maybe we can see each other tomorrow? Hakeem suggested. Darcy shook her head. I have to tutor. Thursday? Scoops. Hakeem frowned. What about Sunday? I work until 6, but maybe we can meet after? Maybe, but I have a chemistry lab due for Ms. Allen. Darcy stared at her notebook rather than looking into Hakeem's face. Then we'll have to make time somehow. Hakeem's voice was soft but insistent, just above a whisper. There's something I want to talk to you about, face to face. No texting. Something important. Just then, Cooper arrived at the table, slapping his plastic tray down as he sat. He grabbed several French fries and shoved them into his mouth. Want some? He mumbled between bites. But Darcy barely heard him. The roar of the cafeteria seemed to fade. The oily scent of the fries hardly registered. What did Hakeem want to say? Darcy wondered. Was it good news? Or was it like the time he told her about Anika, the girl he had met in Detroit? Maybe tonight, she began, trying not to sound desperate. After you're done at the theater, we can... Darcy Wills, please report to the main office. Darcy Wills to the main office. The distorted voice of Bluford High School secretary, Ms. Bader, crackled through the school's public address system. The noisy cafeteria hushed slightly as students lowered their voices to listen. Again, the secretary droned robotically overhead. Darcy Wills, please report to the main office. Darcy Wills to the main office, please. Ooh, moaned someone nearby as if Darcy were in trouble. Uh-oh, what'd you do, Darcy? Too much homework? Cooper joked from the other side of the table, a playful grin stretched across his face. You best watch out if Darth Bader wants you. He quickly pulled up his hood and gave a slow, menacing breath that sounded like the movie villain. Darcy Wills, Cooper boomed with fake seriousness. He raised an arm, as if aiming an invisible force at her. I find your perfect grades disturbing. Please report to Lord Bader. Stop playing, Coop, Tarah scolded, swatting at him before he could finish. This could be serious. What about your mom, Darcy? Mom. The word echoed in Darcy's mind. Tarah was right to be concerned. Her mother, Maddie Wills, was 5 months pregnant. It had already been a tough pregnancy. Mom had been feeling so tired lately that she had dropped one of her shifts as an ER nurse, something she never did, not even when Grandma had grown sick and frail. What if something is wrong? Darcy wondered, her pulse suddenly pounding in her temples. Darcy Wills, please report to the office. Darcy Wills to the office, please. The voice called out again. Somehow it seemed more urgent this time. Alarmed, Darcy stood up to leave. I'm going with you, Hakeem volunteered. No. Darcy shook her head. You need to go to class. I'll walk you down, Tarah said, putting her arm on Darcy's shoulder as if she was unsteady and needed support. Come on. I'm okay, Darcy said, nudging free of Tarah. It's probably nothing. Darcy snatched up her book bag and tried to hide the nervous trembling of her fingers. I'll text you if it's anything. Darcy rushed from the cafeteria, fear clawing at her with invisible fingers.